welcome along. It's been a few days since I was lucky enough to get early access to Farming Simulator 22's latest DLC, the Farm Production Pack. And unfortunately, when it was released to content creators, it did have some bugs and some problems. And in my own first look live stream on Friday, I did find a lot of issues and found this DLC a little bit disappointing. It has now had its full release, and some of the bugs, most notably the problems with the vegetable washer, have now been fixed. So as a result, I thought I would have another look at this, give it a review, go through all the aspects of it, and let you guys know what I think are the good parts, what are the bad parts, and what could possibly do with some improvement in a later update. So I'm going to start this review off with what I think is the highlight of this DLC, this being the Lele Sphere. Now, this takes gases from your animals, mixes them with sulfuric acid, which is a purchasable pellet, and creates liquid fertilizer from it, which actually, in a really nice touch, fills up this drum. And you can see there's an indicator, a red indicator, as to exactly how much fertilizer you have in the drum. You can activate it with the spanner here, and you can see under here, under the liquid fertilizer, you can see how much sulfuric acid you have and how much liquid fertilizer has also been produced. I think this is a really neat way to run something like an organic farm, maybe, where you are producing it from your own animals, and a good way to save money on fertilizer in the long run. It is fairly expensive, coming in at 80,000, but with the cost of a sulfuric acid pellet being only 800, and that giving you 2,000 liters of sulfuric acid, this is actually pretty good. With a conversion rate of 60 liters of sulfuric acid to 120 liters of fertilizer, a pallet of 2,000 liters of acid will produce 4,000 liters of liquid fertilizer. That means for a cost of just £800, you can create 6,400 pounds worth of fertilizer. In all honesty, I really like this. I think as an addition to any farm with that kind of conversion rate, that's really good. You're looking at making 5,000 pounds for every pallet of sulfuric acid you use. So you only really have to do 40 pallets worth of the sulfuric acid for this to pay for itself. I think that's absolutely awesome. Here we've got it running with an open air chicken enclosure. And for something that is supposed to take the air from a barn or a shed and convert it to fertilizer, this seems a little bit off to me. So I think I would quite like to see this have the same sort of restriction as a manure heap has, where you have to attach it to a barn in order to get it to work. Otherwise, this is absolutely fantastic. The second item I want to look at in this DLC is the potato washer. This is actually really cool for the most part. Water and crop go in at this end. It can then process them, and it produces pallets of crop at the other end. If we have a look in here, we can see that 1,000 liters of potatoes plus 50 liters of water will produce 800 liters of potatoes. So it is a 80% conversion rate. That is true for the potatoes and the washed sugar beet. And if you have the premium edition DLC as well, it will also do it for washed carrots, beetroot, and parsnip. I do think this is really neat, and I do like it a lot. I do have a couple of issues with it, and it's mainly to do with the output. I don't like that it outputs pallets like this. We already have one item in this DLC that will store stuff and allow you to fill up from the production. And so I would very much like to have seen the same happen here, with the requirement to have a bucket or a conveyor belt out the other side here in order to unload it. With other parts of this DLC allowing you to unload a production using a piece of equipment, the pallets here, it feels a little bit of a lazy way to do this. Other than that, I like it a lot. Unfortunately, there is one thing that has mired my excitement for the potato washer, and that is how the new washed crops have been implemented. None of the new crops are added into the existing sell points on a map by default and would need to be added into the map by the map maker. As a result, all of the new washed crops can only be sold at the sell points included in with the new DLC. With the washed potatoes being able to be sold at the big vending machine, the multi-vending machine, the vegetables market stall, and the distribution center, and the only one of those where you can sell large amounts of potatoes being the distribution center, and we'll talk about this later when we come to the vending machines and market stalls. The same is true for the washed sugar beet, where the only bulk place that can be sold is also the distribution center. Worse, for the washed carrots, washed beetroot, and washed parsnips, these can only be sold at the vegetable market stall and the big vending machine. And because these locations only allow you to sell a very limited quantity at any given time, you'll find that making more than a couple of pallets of any of these washed crops are going to take a considerable time to sell. Added to this is a problem with the washed products where they cannot be tipped on the ground. They are also incompatible with the vegetable pallet from the premium expansion DLC. This unfortunately makes the new crops of very limited use, and with the expense of buying the washer in the first place, actually doesn't really make it worth using it. And speaking of limited use, that unfortunately brings me on to what I think is possibly the biggest missed opportunity of this DLC. When I first saw this bit of kit, I thought this was a sugar beet cleaner, not a sugar beet shredder. Unfortunately, it appears that Cleaner Tiger is actually the proper brand name of this, and in real life, its name is quite misleading. This machine takes sugar beet in the hopper at the top, and it processes it into cut sugar beet, which it then drops on the ground below here. You're unable to put a trailer underneath, which is what this symbol suggests. And yeah, it just produces cut sugar beet at a lower rate with slightly more expense than items that are already in the game. I really would have liked to have seen an extra bit of kit that washed sugar beet, seeing as the washed crops are very much the new addition as part of this DLC. And to me, this is very much a bit of a missed opportunity with this piece of kit. This brings me to the new market stalls and vending machines, which is a feature I really like in this DLC. So the way the market stalls and the vending machines work is that these market stalls will only require certain products at certain times. So the dairy market stall at the moment is only requiring sugar and bread, despite the fact that you can see it will also take egg and cheese and butter and lots of other things. So yeah, it only requires certain items at certain times and only limited quantities. As you can see, it's about 1 to 1,500 liters of them. The vegetable market stall at the moment is requiring pretty much everything, similarly limited to up to about 2,000 by the looks of it with the beetroot. And then finally, we've got the bakery market stall, which takes a whole load of other stuff as well. And again, limited quantities. You can see here the strawberries in particular only require 716 liters. So in some cases, it's not even a full pallet. The big vending machine here similarly takes a limited supply of everything, as does the small vending machine. While the final vending machine is the multi-vending machine here, which again takes limited amounts of different items. Which brings me to the two big sell points in the DLC. The first is the Fresh Harvest Market, or Fresh Farmers Market, as it's called in the placeables menu. This is disappointing. It is a large sell point. It has a drop-off point at the back. It seems to only want to take raisins at the moment, and a limited quantity of them. So this isn't even a bulk sell point. This is just a sell point with limited amounts. Now, I do like the idea of smaller sell points in the game having a limited quantity requirement, and this having a little bit more. But you do still need somewhere to be able to bulk sell everything. And unfortunately, with the new crops, none of these actually let you do that, and they do seem to be missing from our last big sell point, or our last sell point, which is the distribution center. Now, the distribution center, you can deliver pallets and sell items here at these doors, and that is quite useful for most things. Of course, as I said, it doesn't seem to include the washed carrots, parsnips, or red beet, so those cannot be sold in bulk here. The biggest feature of this is a mini game, and the idea for this mini game is you have a pallet in the loading area, and you come to here and you go, do you want to deliver the pallet to the assigned places? When you go yes, that spawns a forklift inside of the warehouse. And if you press the F1 menu, you can see that you have a time limit to deliver the pallet to somewhere within this shed. So you then have to go and grab the pallet with the forklift and place it in the correct position. Pick up this pallet like so, and you get an indication arrow then of where you need to deliver it. Now, it's quite tight in these rows, as you can see, and you get 2 minutes per pallet to deliver it. So it can be quite a difficult thing to do from time to time. And as a mini game, I have no general problem with this. It's quite a nice different thing. It fits my thing I'm looking for with a DLC of something new to be added to the game. And if we back out, there we go. Now we sell it for a marginally small extra price. I mean, it is literally a couple of pound more to sell it with the minigame. And I can see the minigame being fun for a little while. Maybe the first 2 or 3 times you do it. But if you've got 10, 20 pallets to sell, you're not going to want to do it that way. And as a result, it means that this whole building, other than for that mini game, is completely useless. And it seems very much to me that what this building could be is sacrificed, and the functionality is sacrificed to put a nice little mini game into the game. And to me, it makes this a little bit of a lemon. That mini game is great for a little while, but fairly quickly, I think you're going to want to be just delivering them to the back door here. And in fact, I probably would have switched the areas for delivery and for running the mini game round. I would probably have put this area here as somewhere where you could put a couple of pallets and play the mini game. I don't think anyone is ever going to back up an entire trailer full of pallets into this area here and run the mini game to unload them. If you had a tip point here and you were able to back your trucks up to there and just unload normally, and then maybe had different sell points in here for different things if you did pallets. Unfortunately, that's not the way this is set up. So for the price, for the 80,000 to place this and the amount of area it takes up, it's a little bit disappointing. Which unfortunately brings me to the farm store depot. I am similarly disappointed with this building. This is 80,000 to place. And if you drive a vehicle around the back, you can press your loading button to buy specific items from it. Now, what you can buy from here is lime, pig food, seeds, road salt, and solid fertilizer. Unfortunately, these are all things that are available from the shop in big bags and pallets. You can also get placeable lime and fertilizer and seed containers to put on your map that are much smaller than this and don't cost 80,000. On top of that, the loading for it is really slow. If you're buying this much lime, if you have a placeable lime point on your map, it loads 10 times faster than this. This is so sluggish. And the cost is about the same. In fact, 2,029 for that is actually more expensive than if you bought it in big bags. 5,500 liters of this is not going to cost you more than £1,000. So yeah, there is no cost saving to using this building at all, and it definitely needs adjusting to make it useful. What I'd really like to see is, with this area here, is this not be somewhere where you load a trailer up. With a door at the back here, I would absolutely love it if you could go to the front of the shop and you could purchase pallets that you wouldn't otherwise be able to purchase in-game. So things like sugar to supply to your cereal factory and items like that that otherwise would be difficult to get hold of. That would be a brilliant extra to the game. But as it is, this farm shop is not really very usable. Which brings me to the other big building that we have here without getting into the sheds yet. And that is the workshop, the massive and expensive vehicle workshop. Now, the modeling on this is gorgeous, and there are many things I like about this building. I love the inside and the interior of the service center. I love the amount of space in here and the fact that it doesn't need any hatching, because you just bring a vehicle in here to service it. And I think on any farm where you're using really big kit, this would be great. And at which point you could very much fund, or you could very much afford £275,000 for it. However, it does have a flaw, and that is the size of its doors. Now, while this will fit a large sugar beet harvester or a large potato harvester, I think some of the larger combines are going to struggle to get in the door, which brings me to this, a standard setup versatile. With the large combines having a problem, this tractor definitely has an issue, and I think anybody who's looking to use this shed on a farm where you're using large tractors like this, with some good dual wheels on them, the doors are marginally too small to fit them in. And yet, it is useless for any farm where you're rocking big tractors like this and need to get them into your workshop because they won't fit in the doors. I think I would like to have seen one single large door on this, or possibly these doors come up and you be able to remove the brackets in between to get a large vehicle in like this. It is a flaw in this, and I think I would like to have seen a larger shed door for such a large building. And in fact, I'm not even sure if I got the wheels through that the cab would get through. So again, it's almost there, but the implementation of it just misses that extra little bit to make something that is almost 300,000 usable on a farm where you would spend 300,000 on a workshop. And this brings me to a feature I actually really love, and that is the new set of solar panels that come with this DLC. I love the way that these are placed. I love the whole setup of them. I think they are slightly cheaper than the standard solar panels in the game. And the fact that they are placed in rows by selecting your start point and then coming along is really, really cool. I think I might be able to position them. No, I can't position them in a way that they're between those, but we can do this like this. And yeah, and look at that. 43,000 for a single row like that is a really good price. And I like that. And the fact that you can then do them round corners if you wanted to is brilliant as well. And you get the nice red telling you when you're too close. So you could create some really funky solar panel shapes. I probably wouldn't. But yeah, I do like the way these is placed. The money that they cost, it's much cheaper than placing the £93,000 solar panels. And in fact, it's actually cheaper than placing the 7,800 ones. So I really like those. Only thing that's missing is how much they produce a month. And it would be really cool if you could see that in here. So I would like that as well. The other thing you get as far as generators go, and which there's not a huge amount to say about, is this wind turbine. I do like the wind turbine. It is pretty cool. It sits right between the small turbine that you get in the base game and the larger, well, what's called the small wind energy converter and the small wind turbine. This small wind turbine without the space between the wind and turbine, I think is a really cool. And at 75,000 is really affordable too. To go with the solar panels as well, we have got this piece of cleaning kit. Now, when I was testing this before the mods release, these didn't get cleaned, but I am noticing a very big difference between the solar panel look here and the solar panel look here with the new ones I placed. So these are clean, these are not. So if we activate this, we might actually see some cleaning going on with the solar panels, but not immediately. So in all honesty, I see no change with this, with how it's happened, but there is definitely a difference between a clean and a dirty solar panel. So I think I will need to go and test these a little bit more, see exactly how to get them cleaned and if that is still a bug. But certainly pre-release, there was a bug here where the solar panels didn't get cleaned by the cleaner. It's very possible, though, that that might be fixed. And if so, I will put an update in the comments with testing further. If it does, that would be really, really cool, because I like to see that machine work. And again, that's a new function that this DLC has, and would be really cool to see working properly. And in fact, coming back to what we were saying earlier, we've got clean solar panels. So yeah, this has run the whole way along the solar panels, and it does clean them now. So this is functioning as intended. And this brings me to probably the most disappointing aspect of this DLC. It's the padding. And I hate to call it padding, but it really does feel like it. These sheds make up half the DLC. This shed here is the only one with a nice feature in it, I think. It has got all of this pallet storage here. Like other people have pointed out, I dislike these red X's. If I'm not using this for pallet storage, I would like to use this to store other stuff, but there is a barrier to prevent me going in there. And so that makes this shed useless to anybody, or this section at least, useless to anybody who is wanting to use it for something else, such as grain storage or vehicle storage or anything like that. And then you've got a large section in this shed here. There's some good detail in here. I like the workshop bits and bits like that. But if we've got a workshop here, could we have a workshop trigger in here maybe? Something to make these sheds more functional, to add something to it. And it's the same issue with all the sheds that are included in this DLC. We've got another shed here. This is just an empty space. There's no functionality in it at all. Nothing to do with farm productions. That's my issue here, is that it's got all of these sheds in and none of them are a production. None of them produce things for the farm at all. We've got the same issue with this shed here. And similarly, this has a tipping area down here. But again, no other functionality other than that. We have this very large shed over here, which also has areas to tip crops in and store crops. But again, no functionality beyond that either. We've then got this shed here, which again has bays where you can tip crops in, along with storage space for vehicles. I think if I was to include one of these sheds in here, I would probably include this one. This one says productions to me more than anything else. It's got storage and it's feels set up quite nicely for a production shed. And then finally, we've got this shed here, which is an open fronted shed. These, as I said at the beginning of the section, these feel like they're here to pad this DLC out. They feel like they're here to raise the price of this from a $4.99 DLC up to a $7.99 DLC. And I honestly don't think that if you took some of these sheds out, that in fact, I think you could take out the four biggest sheds and that covered shed there and leave this shed here, charge $4.99 for this DLC, as the Grimmy Pack was back in FS19, and people wouldn't have a problem with that. I think people would be happy with that. And that's the thing with this. When it comes down to farm productions, the washer producing new crops, washed crops, yes, the limitations on selling them I think needs to be addressed, but that is a fine production. The Lele Sphere producing the fertilizer from your animals, again, is a farm production. Even the sugar beet shredder is taking one item on a farm and producing another. And then on top of that, you've got the market stalls and the vending machines, which put a really nice twist on selling small amounts of stuff from your farm. In fact, I really like the fact that other production stuff like bread and eggs and cake and stuff from your greenhouses can be sold at these in small amounts, because I think that's a really awesome way of doing it. And I love the addition of these. The warehouse, again, I don't feel that is fitting the whole farm productions theme. Same with the workshop. The workshop to me is a weird one. As is the farm shop. I think if it was going into a farm productions thing, giving me stuff that I can buy to put into my productions that I can't just buy in big bags anyway, would be a really good addition in this mod. The solar panels and the wind turbine, those do fit in the farm productions, and I love that. So the solar panels are great. The market stalls and the vending machines are great. The washer is great if you can do something with the output from the washer, and really if it became a tip trigger at the end and it didn't produce pallets, I think that would be really cool. The Lele Sphere is awesome. And to me, that is the aspect of this DLC I will probably be using the most. So all in all, where do I come on this DLC? Well, it has some really nice aspects. There are some really cool parts of it. It does suffer quite a bit in its execution. I think that there are definitely issues with the washed crops not being able to be sold, especially the premium edition ones. I think if you're going to include the ability to sell, to wash premium edition crops in this DLC, they need to be able to be sold in order to make that worth it. The Lele Sphere is awesome. And I think if this DLC didn't have quite so much filler in the form of all of those sheds, and was closer to the $4.99 price point, the DLC would almost be worth it for that Lele Sphere alone. As it is, it's got a lot of filler in it, and I don't know. I think in the end, it's up to you. Let me know in the comments what you think now that we've had a few days to digest this and really had a better look. For now, though, I'm going to leave this here. So all that remains is for me to say
thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, drop us a comment, and give it a share. Special thanks to all my patrons and channel members. Your support is invaluable in making these videos and helping the channel to grow. For more from Virtual Farmer, check out the links below, follow on Twitch to watch live, and for more videos, subscribe and ring that bell. I will see you next time. Goodbye.